Hello, welcome to Walk in the Park. My name is Tony Ingraham, and this is the 17th of January, 2018. And it's cold out there. We'll talk about that in a minute. You can see all of my episodes either here on public access television, well, when they run on Channel 13 in Ithaca, New York, or you can go to my website at walkinthepark.tv and see all of my episodes there. That's where you can see all my episodes. This is episode 185, so we've been doing a lot of them. Almost all of them are there. This is a public access television series, weekly series in Ithaca, New York, and you can see all the series schedules and how to get involved in public access television. Anybody can do it. Any local resident can get involved in public access. Go to pegasus.webstarts.com and get all the information there and get the schedules. We also have a Facebook page, and we advertise a lot of our shows on Facebook there, and you can become a Facebook fan at Pegasus TV. Okay, so and you can become a producer too, of a public access producer in Ithaca, New York. Just they announce them on the website when there are trainings for what they call a portable class and a studio class. So check it out. All right, so we're going to today, we're going to go to Ithaca Falls. Now, there's been a lot of changeable weather over the last week and a half or so, particularly last week. Started off the week really cold. This was Monday of last week, so I think it was about the 8th. And this was actually from last week's show when I took you up to the overlook that looks back at Lucifer Falls, 115-foot high Lucifer Falls in Robert H. Treman State Park. So that's southwest of Ithaca. You go up to the upper entrance. Now, the trail in the gorge there is closed for the winter, as it is at Buttermilk Falls and as it is at Watkins Glen and Fillmore Glen State Parks, but not Teganic Falls is usually open. But the rim trail that starts in the upper park will take you to this spot where you can see the falls. But look how the falls were frozen over then and were really not. You could hear water when you were there, but you couldn't hardly see it. Down at the bottom, you can see a little bit of water. So I didn't get a picture of Ithaca Falls. I got a glance at it as I went by on Lake Street once, and I said, wow, that's all covered with ice. But I couldn't get in there and take a picture at that time. So where is Ithaca Falls? It's in Ithaca. It's at the south end of Cayuga Lake in Fall Creek Gorge. It comes off the Cornell campus to the east there. And there's a marker there that shows where Ithaca Falls is. It's a tiny little park. It's a little City of Ithaca natural area. This is an obviously aerial photo by Photography 4D. Photography 4D. You might want to check them out. They have a lot of interesting stuff. But right in the middle of the picture, slightly to the right of middle, is Ithaca Falls and Fall Creek Gorge. And you can see the gorge cutting down from the upper left through the Cornell campus and into downtown Ithaca. Let's get a little closer in on that. Now maybe you can see just slightly left of center in the gorge is Ithaca Falls. This was, I think, in 2014, February 2014, so a few years ago, about 4 years ago. Similarly cold spell had frozen up the falls. Just to the right of the gorge there, by the way, is that area to the right is where there used to be a factory, a gun factory, Ithaca Gun Factory. And there were, in fact, a number of factories that were powered by the water above Ithaca Falls. That's another whole story. But anyway, there was some lead contamination from the testing out their shotguns. It's gotten into the gorge, and I'll talk about that later in the video. But let's go take a look at Ithaca Falls as it looked like last Thursday. Now, there had been a thaw, a partial thaw, probably Tuesday or Wednesday. So this some of the ice had been dislodged, but still it was very icy. So let's go take a look at that. I went in there last Thursday and took some video. So we had some pretty crazy weather last week, and I decided to go take a look at Ithaca Falls on Thursday. There had been such frigid weather that earlier than that the falls had frozen up, and I didn't get a chance to get in to take a picture of that. but there had been a little bit of a thaw earlier in the week, and so things were opened up a little bit. But look over the bridge here, and you can see that the creek is still all jammed up with ice, just completely frozen over, and the water's flowing underneath it. So I decided to try to make my way back to the falls. It can get pretty icy back in there, but I walked back to the falls. So I'm going to go back. This is the Lake Street Bridge, and it's a little park here that was fixed up a couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago. It was reopened. Nice little park at the entrance to the falls, and then the walkway that goes down to the natural area. I was glad to see that a railing has been put up on one side there, because it can get quite icy, and the trail was a bit icy here because there had been some flooding. So we're continuing back along the path. The path is only maybe 1,000 feet or less, a couple of hundred yards or more, back to the waterfall. So it's one of the most accessible waterfalls in Ithaca. Look at this ice underfoot here. This is just packed snow. But looking up ahead, you can see there has been a little bit of ice flooding onto the trail from the creek on the left there. And so that's kind of tricky going, although not as bad as I encountered on another visit a couple of days hence, which I'll be showing you. But yeah, so I make my way along here, and look at all that ice over the creek. Very iced up. So one of the concerns is that there will be, if there's a thaw, which is predicted for the next couple of days, that there will be ice flooding. The ice will break up into jams and flood neighborhoods and so forth, as has happened in the past. A couple of years ago there was some pretty serious ice flooding in Ithaca. Anyway, so you can see there's a little bit of water there, a little bit of ice on the trail, and we're heading back to the falls past this rocky abutment, which you'll see again later. And on the right is a fence to keep people away from the base of this cliff, because up above the cliff is an area that's contaminated with lead from lead shot from the old Ithaca Gun Company, which this sign on the right here is interpreting and telling people to stay back. And there have been a couple of cleanups there of the lead, but right down here around Ithaca Falls. But stuff still does migrate down, so best, at least in probably not much danger in this weather because there's so much snow and ice, but not to go back in there, and maybe even be careful with cleaning off your footwear after you leave this area. But it doesn't look so bad this time of year because of the snow and ice. So heading back, and look, things are pretty frozen up. There's no sign of open water, and a little bit coming through the falls there. Now that ice, I think, was much more extensive. You can see where it's broken off in the falls. We'll take a look at that. Get up closer here, but the footing is pretty dicey here, with the ice having flooded over around the normal footpath, and some people have gone up to the right above the ledge there, and I think I'm going to go to the left here in this case. But I had some trekking poles with me, which were a good idea because they helped me stabilize on some of the ice. I actually did walk out on towards, not over the stream, but closer to the stream in the woods, and I reached this spot where all of a sudden it was all ice and slick. Well, here is the falls. You can see there's some icicles coming off the right there on the cliff, and look at the water pouring through the ice on the falls itself. So there's been a breakup to some degree because of a partial thaw that happened earlier in the week. So it's pretty neat thing to see here at Ithaca Falls. So it's some 150 feet high, 175 feet wide. It really is the biggest waterfall in the area, and changes so much this time of year. By the way, I'm wearing a GoPro camera. It's kind of a body cam. I have a chest harness. I put it on, so as I walk along, I get video. And so look at the creek. It's all frozen over, frozen over. let's go see what it looked like the next day when it warmed up. We had a thaw, a whole lot of rain, and it looked more like this. So let's go take a look at what. We'll go walk in there again. I walk in there 3 times in this show. So just cue that one up here, and we'll get going. Here. So this was just the next day, Friday, January 12th, and we had a tremendous thaw. The temperature went up in the 50s, maybe even to 60, and there was a lot of rain. And so that ice that was over Fall Creek and Ithaca Falls was washed away, was broken up, and the falls, well, we'll see what the falls are like, but the creek is making a lot of sound here. So walk down the steps here, you see the snow is gone, a lot of rain. Oh, here's some of the ice that was there before, is all broken up. There's somebody that's coming back from the falls. It's a wet day. Yeah, there was some flooding, particularly on Cascadilla Creek, and there was some flooding into the one of the parking areas, bus turnaround areas at Ithaca High School, which is along Fall Creek. Look how big the creek is here. Look how it's flooded over its normal banks where the trees are. And it's roaring along. It's just one day later, and the ice is gone with this variable weather. Beginning of the week, it was frigid. Everything was frozen up. And now it's, yesterday it was mostly frozen. And today, boom, look at these chunks of ice. It looks like I'm not seeing high water here, that actually the stream, maybe during the night, maybe Thursday night or early Friday morning before dawn, the stream rose and distributed all of these chunks of ice all along the trail. And look at the falls up there. They're really roaring. I can't even get that close. I actually had to edit this video a lot because of all the rain, and you can see I have an umbrella. The rain, the spray, the wind blowing down the gorge. I kept having to wipe the lens, which I edited out. Destroyed my umbrella. It turned it backwards, busted it up, so I can't use that anymore. But look at those falls, really ripping it. Look at how powerful the creek is. The ice is distributed. So it's quite a change in one day, and this kind of thing, I guess all over the Northeast there were serious flooding, ice jams and flooding, which then again refroze, as we'll see a couple of days from now. But anyway, take a look at this. This is something. You wouldn't want to get caught in that water. And not only is it very cold, but obviously it would sweep you along. You'd be gone. That has happened to some people over the years. They get stuck in these kinds of flood waters, icy waters in the wintertime, and when there's a thaw. And there was a guy at Buttermilk Falls in particular, Bill Chapin, who used to work for the park police, and he and a guy named Paul Schurz, who was a Cornell student that Bill was trying to save, both lost their lives, in water that was this powerful. Look at the ice again. Here we go. We're getting out of here. Couldn't get too close to the falls because of the heavy spray. It certainly wouldn't have been worth any photography because it completely overwhelmed me. But there we go. Fall Creek, cresting its banks, heading downstream. So I guess some of the neighborhoods along Cascadilla Creek in particular started to get a little bit flooded, some of the basements, but the city jumped on it, put some warm water on the ice, and it was able to break up without the kind of flooding that we had 2 or 3 years ago, when it was a really bitter cold spell followed by a thaw like this. And so this wasn't as bad. But some other communities have had some real problems. The footing's a little weird here because of the ice and the high water. Once again, the ice that was there the other day, was there yesterday, was there on Thursday, broken up. Finally climbing out. Let's go over, we're going to go up and go over to the bridge and look back at the falls and see if we can get a look at that. across the park that was redone a year and a half ago, a couple of years ago. Out over the Lake Street Bridge. See what we can see from the bridge. Oh my, oh yuck. Oh, this is not working. I gotta get out of here. Yeah, so that was a very messy day. I got very wet, and but things changed again. Once again, if you're just tuning in, this is Walk in the Park. Walkinthepark.tv is the website to go see all my episodes. Public access television, Ithaca, New York, Channel 13. Okay, so let's go back. I went back there on Monday, what was that, the 15th, 2 days ago, and took a look at what the falls looked like after the freeze came back. So we got another little video, 3 trips I've made in the space of 4 or 5 days into the falls at Ithaca Falls. Okay, a natural area. Let's take a look at Monday. So just a couple of days later, things have frozen up again pretty thoroughly, and I'm walking back into Ithaca Falls to see what it looks like now. Should be an interesting walk, walking over ice that was once wet. I don't know. Let's see what's going on up here. Up the little rise. Oh my, look at that. Looks like there's been some more flooding. Ooh. Yes, there is more flooding, quite a bit more flooding along the trail. The trail is looking maybe a little bit hard to negotiate there, because that is not solid looking at all. Maybe slushy, maybe a layer of ice over water. Not really wanting to slip on that and fall in and break the ice.
Pretty tricky.
Oh, here comes somebody.
How are you?
Okay.
I was able to get through it. Little rock that's peeking out here. Yeah. You sit on that and slide across, and then just hold on to the wall. And you can get. I went all the way up to the fall.
So I think I'll take her advice here. See that rock jutting out? You can almost see it. Edge my way along the rock because it's very icy. There's just very little footing that isn't slippery. There's the rock she suggested I sit on, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit on that rock and pivot around with my feet on the ice. Okay, looks like I made it. Getting around the ledge. I think I'm going to go up behind that lead fence there, at least for part of the way, because it's still pretty icy right up to it. The trail is covered with ice. I walked out on last Thursday. I walked out on some of the ice that had flooded, and all of a sudden I was sliding. Fortunately, I had my trekking poles that day, and I was just free sliding, but I didn't fall, fortunately. Heading all up. Oh, look at all the frost, all the ice and frost on the cliff now with the refreeze. There's the waterfall. And the waterfall hasn't frozen up again. There hasn't been long enough time with the freezing, cold weather to reclad it with ice. There's still a lot of water coming over, so maybe there's still some flood issues, I don't know. I think I'm going to climb up on this ledge here, use the fence there as a railing to grip up on because it's very icy on the trail. All those trees are covered with rime of ice, and leaning over I can't even get through, so it looks like a lot of other people have done this, so I'll do it. Going up, I don't like to walk so close to the cliff because these cliffs are not cleaned off of their broken rock, frost broken rock, so stuff does come down from time to time. So it's not a great place to hang out, particularly in the wintertime. But anyway, here we're getting up to the falls. This is a dramatic view. Very amazing. Ithaca Falls, Fall Creek. Fall Creek is the largest watershed, sub-watershed of Cayuga Lake. Some 140 square miles it drains, so that's why it's a pretty good sized creek. And this is really the biggest waterfall by volume and breadth in the area. Ithaca Falls is, probably 65 feet taller, but doesn't have as much flow as Fall Creek. So there's open water, but a lot of ice floating in it. Quite a change from Friday, quite a change from Thursday. Oh, look at the chain link railing here, covered with ice. Grab onto it nonetheless. Heading back along this irregular surface caused by the ice and the flooding. Fall Creek is fairly ice-choked along here. Oh, there's some folks coming. Try sitting on that rock and swiveling around. Try sitting on the rock and swiveling your legs around. Somehow it seems harder to go back, to get back around this ledge than it was coming the other way. Hugging it, I'm in trouble. But I'll make it.
Yeah, but I'm not wearing my winter boots, so I didn't want to.
I don't want to blame you for not doing it.
I've gone through ice before.
So there you have it. 3 different days at Ithaca Falls. 3 very different sets of conditions, all within the space of a few days. Things can change very quickly, especially in the wintertime. So I think I'll walk across the street here and look downstream from the Lake Street Bridge at Fall Creek as it goes across the flats of downtown Ithaca, and look at that. It's all frozen up down here. So it was flowing like crazy the other day, and now... Okay, so 3 walks to Ithaca Falls. Changes a lot, and Ithaca Falls has the most reliable water, I think, of most any of the gorges around here. So like even during drought times, Ithaca Falls will have some water on it. There are 1 or 2 others that seem to do that as well, like Enfield Creek in Robert H. Treman State Park keeps water on it. But sometimes it gets too much water like it did on Friday. So all this variability we have to live with. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you for watching my show. And turn off this screen and go outside and go for a walk. If the weather's good enough, see you again soon. Thanks.